Hey, everybody, it is Scott Steen with WinnersandWhiners.com coming to you with the Hump Day edition of Winners and Whiners Radio. I am the lead handicapper at Winners and Whiners, and I am joined by the senior handicapper at WinnersandWhiners.com. He is the one and only Scott Reichel. Scott, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty well. Had an interesting night. Of course, you had to deal with a couple of playoff games. One of them was very entertaining. The other one was kind of a blowout in a way that a lot of people didn't see. But we did. Either way, looking at the actual day, it was fine. And then I had a power outage at about, 1 a.m.
Yep.
So my night was kind of all over the place, but managed to circle the wagons, rally the troops, and now we're here filming the show.
There you go. Good time. So welcome to everybody on the radio. Welcome to everybody that's watching on our YouTube channel. Of course, this is Winners and Whiners Radio. Give us an hour and we'll give you the winners. That is what we do around here. And we will be coming to you with not only some of our plays from the hockey, from the basketball, a little bit of baseball, but we will have our Bet the Farm pick. That is where Scott and I come up with our very best play of the day. So stay tuned for that and get ready to bet the farm. Of course, WinnersandWhiners.com is our title sponsor. WinnersandWhiners.com, the number one site in the world for predictive sports analysis. Each day, people from over 150 countries stop by to check out the latest in line movement, weather, player injuries, all the things that may affect you and your final plays. So make sure you stop by and check it out. Every game, every day, every play available in North America, always there, always free for you. WinnersandWhiners.com. So, Scott, how did you end up yesterday? Would you have a profitable day?
Overall, broke even. Ended up losing my play today with the Mariners team total over. Kyle Freeland learned how to pitch, so good for him, bad for me. Other than that, though, I had the Astros, which was easy because, of course, you're facing Baltimore, and they've won now 9 in a row. That was pretty easy based on that price.
Jorge Lopez was good, though, Scott. They only had one run going into the 8th inning.
So. Yeah, that was the problem, though. Baltimore's bullpen's going to come in and maybe mess around a little bit. But I had the Astros. I had the Canadiens. Overall, pretty decent day, but for the most part, slight profit.
Not bad at all. Scott, it didn't go that well for everybody. There are some people out there that had a couple of plays that they thought were sure things, winners. They were getting ready to put the check mark in the win column, and then everything went south, Scott. It didn't work out at all. The game is over. You're standing there holding a worthless ticket, and you have to fight that instinct because your first instinct, somebody got robbed. It's time to call the cops. All right, Scott, we're going to start it off in the NBA as we talk about that game between the Clippers and the Suns. If you had the Clippers on the money line, you're getting a nice price, plus 165. And you thought you had a winner. You were up 1 with 8.2 seconds left. They inbounded the ball, tossed it around a little bit, went out of bounds. Kind of a controversial play there. Ended up being Suns basketball with 0.9 seconds left. That was after George, by the way, had been fouled, missed both free throws to give him a chance to put it up 3. Instead, the Suns get the ball back with 8.2 seconds left, and then they get it with 0.9. You probably saw it if you watched any kind of sports tonight because it's going to be the lead highlight on any sports show you watch as they inbounded the ball to DeAndre Ayton, standing as he broke towards the basket, took the ball in flight, and just gently dunked it through the basket for your game winner, and the Clippers lose by 1. If you had LA plus 165, you took it in the shorts, and it was time for you to call the cops.
And if you, switching gears a little bit, if you had a women's tennis match in the early hours of the morning, it was an even worse beat. If you had Mertens on the money line against Coco Gauff, of course, the American teenage phenom, if you had Mertens, you're in pretty good shape early. She was around plus 110, shopping around. Won the first set 6-0, which is pretty good. Served for the match twice in the second set. Couldn't capitalize. Ended up going to the third set. Was up a break in the third set. Got broken again, and then lost the match. So she won the first set 6-0. Needed to win 1 out of the next 2 sets. Serving for the match twice. Nope, not good enough. And then had a break in the third. Nope, not good enough. Lost in 3 sets. That's painful.
I know you were the resident tennis guy. What was the money line on Mertens, Scott?
About plus 110.
Plus 110. All right, very good. So that's
You win 6-0 in the first set, and you're serving for the match twice. You just assume it's a wrap at that point.
Probably could have got a pretty good price on live Coco, Scott.
You probably could have, because she definitely responded well to the adversity and got the job done.
Were they playing this week?
I believe – I'm trying to remember which exact tournament, because you have a couple that are taking place in England specifically. You have a couple taking place in some other countries. I want to say that it was in Germany, but it could have been in Britain. So it's one of the two, European country.
Okay. So, yeah, that was why it was early morning, because it was kind of a noontime match over there or whatever. So.
Yep.
All right, very good, Scott. We'll go to the College World Series. If you had the Virginia Cavaliers, very good baseball team on the money line. They were playing Mississippi State. Things are going extremely well. They led 4-0 going into the 8th inning. Things did not end extremely well as they gave up 6 runs. 6 runs, Scott, in the last 2 innings. End up dumping that one 6-5. You had the Cavs on the money line. That was not a pretty sight for you, and you had to call the Cavs.
Well, I guess on the silver lining is that if you did take the Cavs on the money line, you're probably used to seeing the Cavs lose, but that's more of a basketball reference than it is for baseball.
Ooh, well, it could be a football reference too.
Could be. Really anything involving the Cavaliers. Not really good in many sports.
Not good. Not good at all. All right. So, Scott, kind of the other side of the coin of call the cops is our rocking chair wins. These are the easy ones where you just can sit back and relax. You can turn something else on the TV. You can talk to the family if you want to do such a thing. Is you don't have to watch the game because you already hold the golden ticket. You've got a winner. And you, more importantly, you had a nice, easy winner as you sat in the rocking chair.
So, first one we're going to talk about was in hockey. You had the Montreal Canadiens taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. And if you had the Canadiens on the money line at plus 190, I believe we both recommended that play on the air yesterday. They led 3-0 after the second period, and they ended up winning 4-1. Vegas did play well, much better in the third period, but it really was too little too late. Remember when Vegas was minus 500 to win the series and we laughed, or I'd say we laughed pretty loudly at that? Yes. Canadiens are now minus 180 to win the series.
So if you had them at, what was it, about plus 360?
Give or take.
390, yeah.
I know both of us were big fans of the Canadiens plus 2.5 games, even plus 1.5 games. That already cashed.
Yep. All those, we just thought that it was a little more evenly matched than the odds makers. Of course, you're playing the Vegas tracks. Anytime you're betting on Vegas, you're paying extra money because everybody in Vegas is on Vegas. So.
I think the most surprising thing in that game was the fact that Fleury was in net again, which I don't really understand because they switched goalies. They won the last game with Lehner in net,
right?
And they went back to Fleury after they won the last game. I really don't know what's going on. You figured you ride the hot goalie. You just won with your controversial goalie switch. Shouldn't you stay with the guy?
Who do you start in Game 6?
It's going to be Lehner. Fleury's not going to see the ice again for the series.
I guess that makes sense, but at the end of the day, do you think Fleury's the better goalie, or you just think he's running cold right now?
I think that Fleury's the more talented goalie because, of course, he was a Vezina finalist. But at the end of the day, you got to just try to switch something up. And Fleury, I know he blew the game where he messed with the puck behind the net, and they probably should have won that game and instead of lost in overtime. But Lehner, he looked really good. I mean, he gave up 1 goal in that one start in the series, and I was shocked Fleury was back in net. And I think you'd agree that you're going to go back to Lehner now, and if Lehner struggles, you're probably not going to see Fleury anyway because you're probably just going to lose.
Yeah, if Lehner struggles, you're not going to have to worry about who starts Game 7.
Fleury's not – I don't see Fleury starting again. You?
No, I honestly don't see any reason why they would. I think you've got to go with the guy that's been better in this series, and there's no question that that's Lehner. So, All right, Scott, we'll finish up, or we'll do our second one here in the rocking chair, moving back to the major leagues. If you had the Detroit Tigers plus 100, God bless you for your bravery for starters. And you know what? You were pretty darn smart because the Tigers led 6-0 after the 4th inning. They led 8-2 after the 5th, and that's exactly where this game ended. There was no more scoring as the Tigers cruised to an easy victory behind, was that Skubal today?
It was Skubal on the mound.
Skubal over, it was somebody else that we really didn't like too, right?
It was Oviedo.
That's right. I think it's just me that's on the anti-Oviedo train.
That's not just you. I believe he's, what is he, 0-3, 1-3?
He's not good.
He's not good.
So, yeah, Tigers plus 100. Nicely done there. you had Detroit, you had a nice, easy time of it, and you were sitting in the little afternoon rocking chair.
And the last one involved the Blue Jays and the Marlins. And if the Marlins are involved, you should probably take the under because this team can't score. And if you had the under 7.5, you might have been concerned going in because Ross Stripling was on the mound. And then you remember, wait a second, Miami is terrible. So it was 1-0 going into the 6th, 1-1 going into the 9th. Oh no, extra innings drama. Nope, not quite. Blue Jays scored 1 run in the 9th. Game ended 2-1. If you had the under 7.5, pencil the Marlins in for less than 3 in pretty much any given game, and you had a nice, easy winner.
What a heartbreaking situation for
Alcantara can't get a break, man. He gets so many good starts, he just can't even get decisions.
This is a team, and we know how bad this offense is, right?
The pitching is so good.
I'll tell you how you know the pitching is so good because their run differential, Scott, for the last place Marlins is +17. That's how good this team is. That's how good this pitching staff is. They're 10 games below 500 with a run differential of +17. That is unbelievable right there. That means they're pitching well and they lose a lot of close games. So I'm a huge fan of this Marlins pitching staff. I just can't say enough good things about them. For goodness sakes, get some hitters in there, folks. Jeez.
Not pretty.
Please. No, it's not pretty at all. So, all right. That's going to do it. That's it. That's our 3 easy winners. We had some other ones, but those were probably the 3 easiest. So, Scott, it was a big day for the NBA today, but not just because of the Western Conference Finals Game 2.
Ping pong balls.
It's ping pong. It's NBA ping pong as they had their draft lottery. I gotta admit, Scott, I still don't understand how it works. At one point I did understand how the draft lottery, and then they change it like every year.
It's the same format. They just change the percentages to try to incentivize tanking.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But it's a certain formula for how many balls you get in. I don't know. Can you tell us how it works?
Basically, the way that it works is that you have X amount of balls, and the odds of you winning are correlated to your record. Now, it used to be that the team that had the worst record had the best chance. Second worst record had the second best chance, etc. They switched it up a couple of years ago so that the bottom 3 teams each have exactly the same odds of 14%. And the reason for that is because of the fact that if you had a couple of awful teams there that might be punting games for the entirety of the season, now whether you're first or whether you're last or third to last, it doesn't matter. So the idea is you can't really get rid of tanking, but you can somewhat limit it.
I was going to say, so they've changed the rule so you couldn't tank quite as much.
You could tank, I'd say, 98% of the season effectively, and then the other 4%, nobody cares. God. Which is kind of what they decided to do, which I guess is better than nothing, but it didn't really matter.
All right, so congratulations to the Detroit Pistons. They won the NBA draft lottery. By the way, they were +550. Scott, I know you wanted to talk about those odds a little bit.
Even if you won with Detroit, if you take the odds of them actually winning the lottery into the betting odds equation, you should never bet on this prop ever. Because the odds of Detroit winning is 14%.
14%. So about 1 in 7.
About 1 in 7, and you won with +550. I'm not a math major, but can you explain why that doesn't make any sense?
Well, you're 860 to 14 against, so you're 43 to 7. So you're about 7 to 1 against, and you're only getting +550. So basically, you're just paying a lot of juice there. You're paying you're paying $1.50 juice on a 550 bet. So you're paying about 25% juice.
Not to mention the fact that you're literally flipping ping pong balls for the odds of you actually winning. So it's pure chance anyway. Yes. We talk about trying to get plus value on a coin toss. You're getting minus 200 on a coin toss. Like, it's not good.
That's about what it's like. It's like in case you don't like the whatever they put for a good books, you'll find it at -105, sometimes even -103 for the coin toss.
Super Bowl odds, yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's about like paying -140 on a coin toss. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's not good.
Not good at all. So congratulations if you had that sucker bet. You just got paid off 5.5 to 1. So what do we know? So Scott, according to the odds, there is one favorite to become the number 1 pick in the draft, the newest Detroit Piston. And that is Cade Cunningham, freshman from Oklahoma State. Scott, I guess there's people that know more about basketball than I do, because to me, I was not that terribly impressed with Cunningham.
I'm trying to keep in mind how many games you've actually seen him play, because I know Kansas State faced off against him a couple of times during the season. How many times did you actually get to watch Cunningham play?
Well, I probably saw him 4 or 5 times in the regular season, and then I think, obviously caught probably every one of their tournament games. So a fair amount.
Okay, that's fair.
And, he's good, but is he the best team in the country?
Well, we got to talk first about the actual odds of him being the number 1 overall pick.
Minus 1,600. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I was going to say that regardless of whether you think he's the first-round pick, it seems like odds makers and almost everybody on the planet thinks he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. The only argument I would have for you is if you don't think Cunningham is worthy, who is?
Jalen Suggs.
Okay. I mean, I'm a big Suggs guy. I think Cunningham is probably better all around, just because defensively and the fact that it's always attractive to take a 6'7" point guard.
Yeah, I know.
So, especially one that can actually shoot. Shout out to you, Ben Simmons.
I was going to say, who's not going to take a tall point guard this season? It's probably going to be Philadelphia.
Probably not. But
what's the odds on Suggs? What's the odds for the first 5?
I was actually going to pull that up. I believe that Cunningham is about minus 1,600, and then everybody else is at least 12-1. So it's really not even close. You don't even have like a knockout number 2 option.
So we have talked a lot here lately, Scott, about not being afraid of the sure thing. Talking about, it comes up a lot in politics where you think one state is going to, you think California is going to vote Democratic. You think New York is going to vote Democratic. You think Utah is going to go Republican. They put odds on those, but it's as close to a sure thing as a lock as you're going to get. And you'll find bets like that every once in a while.
If you think that predicting Detroit's front office as being a lock, good luck to you, because they're the Pistons for a reason, man.
Good luck to you, you're saying?
I'm saying good luck to you, because it might be far from a lock.
So that would be the only one I'm looking at.
I see Suggs at 10-1, by the way.
Okay. I think if I'm gonna take a sniff on this, I'm not interested in paying 16-1. I'm not sure it's that sure of a thing. I think it's probably closer to 10 or 12-1 would be.
See, we're on the same page. I think Cunningham is probably going to be the number 1 overall pick. Now, I'm also with you. I think Cunningham's a very good player. I just don't see the full wow factor.
Yeah.
I think he's a solid, steady, safe pick. I just am a little bit I'm questioning kind of what the ceiling is for Cunningham as a player.
He's the kind of guy you expect to see drafted in the 20s, has a nice career, maybe 6-man off the bench, maybe scores 15, 18 a game, something like that.
So I'm not that low on him, but I think that he'll be a guy who probably averages, I'd say, 18, 6, and 5.
Okay. All right.
I think that's kind of where stat line's going to be. So I don't know if he has the full pop, but I do think he's a steady player. Now, looking at the other options, I love Suggs. I think he's a great player, but I think there's no way that Suggs is going to be taken before Cunningham, just because of the fact that they play the same position. People have seen Cunningham in college and they can compare, which is why I'm going with the sleeper option. If you want to take a long shot, it's probably going to be a guy that a lot of people have not seen. I'm going Jalen Green.
Yeah.
At 13-1. And the main logic I have there is that he's been in the G League, so a lot of people don't watch the G League. They probably have not seen him play. But if you actually have seen the highlights and you've seen him perform, I do think he has a bit of a wow factor to him that might entice a front office to maybe make a reach. Now, is Cunningham going to be the pick? Probably. That's why he's minus 1,600. But I think if you're going to take a sniff with guys, I think that Green has a better chance of going number 1 than Suggs, just because they might look at Green and see some untapped potential and might try to make a reach with him. What do you think?
I think that's a solid pick. It's kind of interesting, these guys that are going to the G League and getting their experience that way. Do you agree with that, Scott? Do you think it's a good plan?
Yeah, they get paid.
You like it better than going to Europe?
See, the thing is that you have to keep in mind, I don't exactly know how proactive front offices are when it comes to watching European basketball in comparison to G League basketball. I'm assuming they probably watch more G League stuff because they have more affiliate coaches and stuff like that. So maybe they have a better connection to some of the guys in the league. I don't think it really matters whether or not you go to the G League or you go to Europe, besides, not having to potentially know another language to live in Europe for over a year, which also helps for staying in the G League. But the point is, if you're really comparing it to college, if you want to play and you're going to be a top draft pick, why not get paid for your services?
And you're going to face better competition.
Correct. And you also have coaching staffs who are better connected to the actual coaches in the league.
Yes, and most likely they're better coaches. I know you and I, we talked about it a little bit towards the end of the tournament. We're really, I won't say we're super down on Mobley. But
I'm not a big Mobley guy.
Do you think he deserves to be considered as the second pick in the draft?
This is my hot take. I think Mobley's going to fall. And the main reason why I think he's going to fall is because of the fact that a couple reasons. One, he's extremely undersized. I know he's 7 feet tall. He has to eat a full cow because he has to gain about 35 pounds.
He was manhandled as they
killed him.
Got deeper in the tournament. Timmy especially just abused him.
You didn't do it this time. I'm surprised.
Timmy.
Yeah, there it is. But looking at everything else, the question I do have with basketball nowadays is the actual trajectory the league has gone in. And it has gone from being a center-driven league to being a guard-driven league. And I'm really not sure. I'm not going to say you should start treating centers like running backs where you just don't take them in the top 5. But I think you'd agree that backcourts make or break teams nowadays. I know centers are important, but how hard is it to find an athletic center with upside in really just today's NBA?
Yeah, he's not a stretch guy at all. He's an 8-foot in guy.
He can shoot a little bit, but he definitely needs some work.
Those guys are dinosaurs, man. I don't. Again, it's like, it's like spending all your draft capital on a utility infielder.
It depends on what you think his ceiling is. I see Mobley play, and he reminds me of Jaren Jackson from Michigan State, who I think is a solid player, who also went top 4 in the draft. But you're comparing him to Cunningham and Green and Suggs, and I just see those 3 guys having long, productive careers. And I think that you can make an argument that centers in today's NBA just aren't as impactful as they have been in the past.
No, what is he going to do night in and night out against the likes of Anthony Davis, DeAndre Ayton,
Embiid,
the Stifle Tower?
No, I don't think that Mobley's going to be a bust or anything, but unless he puts on the weight, he's a long way away from being a steady all-star level guy, which is what you expect with a top 3 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think he's going to fall, but some team might take a shot with him. I don't see either Detroit with number 1 or Houston with number 2 making that leap. I think Toronto might take a reach there because they didn't really have any big men last year. I think they might try to make a run at Mobley, but I think he's good. I just think that he's still relatively raw, and he's not even at his current playing weight in the NBA.
I think to me, he's like Bull.
I was thinking more of I'm trying to think of other like skinny but solid big men in college. I can't remember his name. He plays. He had a song that had his name. I'm trying to remember what his name was. He plays for the Magic.
He had a song?
Yeah, there was a song that had his name in it. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank.
What kind of song? It
was literally just a song that had his name in it.
A country song? A rock?
No, it was like a rap song and had his name, and I have no idea why it had his name in it.
Okay.
But they like named the song after him, and I'm gonna search up his name because I'm kind of really annoyed at myself. I actually just don't have the name on top of my head.
Yeah.
I'm sure that a lot of people who are listening to this know exactly who I'm talking about.
Sure, absolutely.
But let me just see if I can find his name. Mo Bamba.
Oh, I thought that was the Richie Valens song.
Not quite.
No, Mo Bamba.
No, but Mo Bamba was a guy from Texas who had similar issues. Who was a guy who could block a lot of shots, could provide length, but he was extremely skinny. And they were wondering how his weight would translate to the NBA, and it has not. So I have concerns about Mobley. Yeah,
fair enough. All right, so it'll be kind of fun. Who's going to be the steal of the first round? Anybody that you like?
Now when you say steal of the first round, do you mean like an all-star, or do you mean a guy who I just think is going to be a steady contributor in the NBA?
No, who's going to be an all-star? In the first round, I think the expectation would be to be an all-star.
Okay, because I was going to say if you want just a reliable guy who's going to be really good, I think Scotty Barnes is going to be really good. Not a great shooter, but defensively, Barnes is going to be a very impactful player. So I think that he's got a lot of upside there. When it comes to actual sleepers, I don't really see many. I don't really know much about Zaire Williams. I know he played at Stanford, but his shooting percentages were terrible. Jalen Johnson left Duke, so I don't really trust his character. Kispert can shoot, but he's basically Joe Harris. You might have to get back to me on that one because
that's what
I'm going to have to do some scouting on my own.
I was going to ask you specifically about Kispert. Do you think he's going to have a successful career?
Yeah, I think he's one of the safest prospects on the board because you know exactly what he is. He's a three-point shooter who's going to stay a three-point shooter and contribute not much else.
Yeah.
I mean, in today's NBA, you need three-point shooters. Kispert will do well.
Can't have too many of them, man.
You really can't. But I'll tell you what, you can just bounce it around a little bit. I don't know if you have a sleeper or not. I can quickly look up a potential sleeper that I have.
How about Desanmu?
I think that he's good. I think he's good. I don't know if he counts as a sleeper because he was pretty well known in Illinois.
I would say if he's not, I would say if you're not going top 20.
I think he's a solid player. I think that he needs to work a little bit more on his decision making because he seems to be a little bit tunnel visioned at times where he just decides what he's going to do and he doesn't really pivot to anything else. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. But if you want to actually talk about some guys who I think could be a real sleeper that a lot of people don't know about, I do think you might find some value with, let me just try to pick one out. Do you have anybody besides the Sunwoo, or that's kind of your main option?
That's the one that really kind of stood out to me as far as somebody that I think could make an impact. He was banged up a lot of the year last time. I'm obviously big fan of that Baylor team.
I was going to say I'm interested in Butler, but he has to be cleared medically by the NBA, so he might have a medical issue. So I can't really talk if I think he's going to be good because he might be ineligible to actually play in the NBA.
Right.
So I'm kind of just waiting that out. But if you want to talk about an actual sleeper that I do like, I do think that there is some value on Isaiah Jackson, who was the big man out of Kentucky. I know Kentucky wasn't good. I know that he got into foul trouble. But I think Jackson's just a very explosive guy who I think could play a factor, especially as a late pick to be, I'd say, a booster to a playoff team's front court. I think he provide a bit of a spark there, kind of like a Precious Ochiuwa situation with Miami this past year. I think Jackson's a good player. He's kind of an energizer bunny.
Yep. All right. Very solid. All right, Scott. Yesterday was a big day in the majors. This is the week they start checking everybody for a foreign substance, checking hats, gloves, belts. A couple guys didn't take it well, Scott. First of all, how would you describe Max Scherzer's reaction?
Mad.
He was not happy. He basically took off his belt, dropped his glove, kind of had that Max Scherzer expression on his face that we all know and love.
He stared down Girardi, which I thought was fun.
I'd take him in a fight over Girardi.
So would I. But the point is Girardi's the opposing manager, and he's the one who called for it in the middle of an inning. And Scherzer was just staring him down, which I appreciated.
Is this going to last? Can this really go on? Are we going to strip search the pitchers after every other half inning?
Well, he had the issue. Sergio Romo also did the same thing. He even did further because he half undid his pants. So he really went above and beyond the Call of Duty. But I feel like it's going to continue, or at some point, umpires are going to need to start bringing latex gloves for the full cavity search. But I think for the most part, I don't think it's going to last that much longer. I think it's becoming a circus, which has kind of been the entire tenure of Manfred, who has really not done a great job when it comes to, A, not even promoting the sport, B, making up rules to try to speed up the game and kind of hurting the integrity in the process, and C, just the enforcement. It's been an absolute joke, whether it involved the Astros, whether it involved this current situation with pitchers. You can't have pitchers just getting increasingly agitated. Like, that's the one thing you can't have. If you want to enforce it, great, but at least do it in between innings. You can't have situations where 3 times a start, you're looking at the guy like, did he apply something in between the 4th and 5th inning?
Right.
Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
Like, come on.
if you want to speed up the games, this does not seem to be the rule to help that out.
I just think you have a lot of conflicting things going on where you want to speed up the game in some capacity, but you also want to prevent people from cheating in the other capacity while also keeping it amicable. Why would any pitcher who's being accused of cheating 3 times in 5 innings be amicable towards the umps?
No. Well, or the other, the opposing manager, if he's calling for it. I mean, certainly you're going to have to, for starters, aren't we going to have to limit the number of manager challenges?
That's what I'm saying. I don't even know if these are all manager challenges or it's just umpires in between innings saying, all right, spread them.
Are we going to have to start adding that to our umpire stats?
You might have to. But it's just a matter of looking at how mockable the actual enforcement of some rules in baseball has become. And I think that's what Manfred's notorious legacy is going to be, was that he was a commissioner who was around and nothing really went right.
You know, Scott, I know whenever I go to the ballpark and watch a 3.5-hour baseball game that ends up 3-1, as I'm leaving the stadium, the one thing that is on my mind foremost, more than anything else, is I wish that they could figure out a way to make that last 30 minutes longer. That would be fantastic if I could spend 4 hours at the ballpark instead of just 3.5. Commissioner, can you do anything about that? Oh, well, what about we check the pitchers 17 times a game for about 2 minutes each? That should be there. There you go. There's your half hour. How about that?
So there are a lot of bad commissioners. I know people hate Goodell. I know the owners will love him because he made them a bunch of money. But if you want to talk about just overall, if you want to talk about overall commissioners, Manfred's really building up a pound-for-pound resume to be one of the worst commissioners of all time in any sport.
Pound for pound, the worst commissioner in any sport.
Am I even being harsh? Because he's been around for a handful of years, really not many. I don't think anything is going well.
What are you upset about other than the Astros?
He called the championship trophy a piece of plastic. Come on. It's called the Commissioner's Trophy. You can't call it a piece of plastic. It's not called that. I mean, it just really doesn't. I don't think he's done anything right.
That's your I tried trophy from your fantasy football league.
I'm just saying, if the commissioner's calling it a piece of plastic, and now you have the enforcement, and there's a huge divide going on between whether it's the umpires and managers and umpires. There's just a lot of going on. Do you think Manfred's done anything right? Because I can't really think of anything.
You know, I don't know. I don't know that I'm as anti-Manfred as you are, but it doesn't seem like he's done a lot positive for the game. It's like baseball's kind of laying there on the deathbed, maybe needs a little CPR, and instead Rob Manfred just gets up and starts stomping on baseball's chest. So,
as far as I'm concerned, if you're a commissioner, just don't poke the bear. Just try to maintain the course. Try to change things every now and then. We don't need you to try to change everything. And I feel like Manfred is going a little bit too far in some capacity. Well, maybe not far enough in some other capacities.
You've got a big basket of bear poop on your hands now because
it's bad.
It's bad, and I don't know what you do. Obviously, the time to address it would have been in the off season. Come up with something that gives everybody grip that everybody's happy about that would still not affect the integrity of the game. So, hey, Scott, I did see this yesterday, kind of apropos of nothing. No, I know you play in a couple fantasy leagues. Do you have any punishments for last place in your fantasy team?
We do.
In your league, what's the last place player have to do?
We change it up every year. We keep the people guessing. We customize it solely based on who comes in last.
What do you have to do this year?
I didn't come in last, so we're still working on it.
Are you still working? You're still working on the punishment?
Yeah, we usually end up doing it, I'd say, around a month before the draft or a week of. We had a guy who was going to be a TA in college for a couple classes a week. So we had him put up a sticker on his laptop that he used every day, which just says, "I am garbage at fantasy football." And every time he would lift up the laptop, all the students would just see the sticker just plastered over his laptop.
Not bad at all.
It's subtle, but when you see it for the 5th straight month, it eventually starts eating at you, don't you think?
I heard a good one yesterday. It's the reason I bring it up, Scott. They had as their punishment, the guy had to go to Waffle House and spend 24 hours in a row at Waffle House. All right. But the twist is, for every waffle that he ate, he could knock an hour off the time that he was at Waffle House.
Okay.
So, first of all, are you a Waffle House fan?
I'm more of a pancake guy,
Yeah.
but I dabble with Waffle Houses.
Yeah, I've been to the Waffle House before.
Yeah, it's got waffles. It's a house. What's not to like?
I don't know, the cleanliness, the servers, the cooks. Um, how many pancakes could you eat? How many waffles could you eat, buddy?
It's a very, very good question. Am I like allowed to puke, or are you talking about just without killing myself over it?
No, I don't. Well, I don't know all the subheaders as far as the rule book goes. I don't know if a reversal of fortune that starts the clock
I would
over
say no reversal of fortune. I would give myself 5 or 6.
5 or 6, so you could knock off a few hours there at the Pancake House.
I think 5 or 6. I'd be pushing it. I wouldn't be able to eat it consecutively like Kobayashi. I'd have to probably take my time on it. But I'd say 5 or 6.
See, here's my plan. I think I could eat 2 every other hour
Okay.
and knock off half the time.
Wait. So 1 an hour.
So you do that, yeah. Basically, you're 1 an hour.
So you said 2 every other hour instead of just 1 an hour. Okay,
Right.
great.
Because I'd eat the 2, then I'd rest for as close to 2 hours as I could,
Okay.
and then eat 2 more, and then at the end of 6 hours, obviously you've eaten 12 waffles, right?
I had a punishment idea for the current guy was in last place. That leading up to the draft, he has to have a week straight of NFL Red Zone on TV. But of course, there's no games on, so it's only the theme song for Red Zone for just a full week straight.
Oh my god. Okay, that's.
I'm trying to think if that's too harsh. Like maybe 24 hours is enough, but just the endless theme song for Red Zone.
I've had some
playing
nights
constantly.
where I've had Red Zone up, and then I've started working immediately in that song, and I don't take it off, and all of a sudden you just realize how annoying that is.
But it would be for a week, I'd say, is a tentative argument by me. At least 2 days, just straight. No TV, just only the theme song.
For Hell Week in college, Scott, we did a week straight of kung fu fighting. That song was blaring.
Fast as lightning.
Yeah, that song was blaring throughout the fraternity house for a week solid as Hell Week was going on.
Well, that song at least has words.
It does.
Yeah.
And I know every one of them still to this day. So I know you're a college graduate, Scott, at the University of Wisconsin. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're a fraternity man. Did you have to do anything crazy for Hell Week that you can talk about?
Not particularly. Truth be told, there was some stuff, but I can't say that anything was traumatizing or whatever. I got through it. I'm a trooper, and I came out on the other side.
Came out of it all right. So I know you were a little bit down on Wisconsin basketball this year, Scott. Would that be a fair way to put it?
They made the tournament. That was kind of the only thing they did because they lost immediately, but whatever. Well, they beat North Carolina, but you know what I mean. Like I wasn't expecting much out of this team.
So I'll let you talk about the story that came out since that's your school. Kind of fill us in on what's going on with the basketball coach up there.
So, as you know, Coach Gard ended up taking over for Coach Ryan, and he's been around for the last couple of years. And Wisconsin has been decent, peaking mostly in the Sweet 16, and that's kind of it. They haven't gotten past there, but they've also kind of underachieved in the last couple of years. And anyway, Wisconsin, I guess, was impressed by Coach Gard's performance over the past season for some reason, and he got a 5-year extension during the offseason. Now, the problem with that is, A, I don't think Coach Gard is very good. B, neither do the players, because some of the players on last year's team, evidence came out there was a secret meeting or some secret recording or something. I don't really know how that worked itself out. It sounded kind of sketchy. But either way, evidence came out that several Wisconsin basketball players don't exactly see eye to eye with Coach Gard and don't exactly get a proper, I'd say, welcoming father figure type of image from Coach Gard. And that's a bit concerning when the guy you just extended for about 5 more years doesn't really have the full support of his players from last season. I don't know if that's going to affect anything, but my question for you is, do you think that impacts the job security?
I think they're going to be looking at an area that they may not have been looking at before that story came out. I don't know that it affects his immediate job security, but I think they're going to keep a tighter eye on his relationship with his players.
Now, once again, it didn't have to do with any hazing or anything that was frowned upon. It just had to do with the fact that they just found him relatively emotionless. That's kind of how that worked out. So it wasn't like he threw a chair or he choked a player. It's not anything like that, because you've seen those issues. He'd be fired immediately. But They just don't really seem to like the guy's personality.
That is so 2020. That is so 2021. You don't really like his person. You know what? Shut up and play. That's what I have to say.
My argument would be if you don't like the coach, transfer.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know.
Get out of there. I don't know.
I don't know if you noticed it on the way into the gym, but there's also a door that goes out, and feel free to take it.
I don't think they're committed. They're staying in Wisconsin for the weather. That's all I'm saying. Like, that's not a plus.
No, it's not.
You can go to Miami if you wanted to.
I like to spend time at the beach, so I'm living in Madison. Oh, terrific.
I don't know, man. But I do think he's going to stick around, of course, because they still have been relatively successful. But I don't think he's going to finish those 5 years.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I thought extending him was stupid to begin with because I don't know how many times you can be satisfied not making it past the Sweet 16 or losing prior to the Sweet 16. And Wisconsin's not exactly a great recruiting ground for a basketball program, but they're still one of the better schools in the Big Ten.
Right. The reason you do that is you're worried about somebody stealing him away. Was he high on the list for a lot of top tier coaching jobs?
I would assume no, because he wasn't exactly a free agent. Wisconsin extended him pretty quickly, but maybe they were worried Minnesota would have gone after him, but Minnesota already hired another coach, so I don't really know why nowadays you can't afford to just say, in hindsight, this was just stupid. I'm sure the buyout clause in this extension is not pretty.
No, most of those guys have that locked up pretty well. So, we'll keep an eye on that, see how it affects their odds going forward, see if it has an impact on their future price when those are posted here in a couple of months.
Team's going to be bad anyway. Just don't bother.
It's going to be good. So, Scott, here's the deal. It is game 6. The last game at the barn, Scott?
I have to assume so.
They're not coming back for the finals.
I don't see it.
The Islanders against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
No, I'm not saying that the Islanders are officially going to lose game 6, but they have to win 6 and 7 in order to have another home game. That's asking a lot. But
did they get past this one? Can you get past it? What is easier, Scott? Losing 2-1 in overtime or 8-0?
Which one's easier for a team to rebound from?
Yep. What's easier to wipe the slate and come back fresh?
I think 8-0.
You think so? I mean, I think that's the standard argument, that it's easier to come back from a blowout. You just kind of write it off. You don't have to go over the game film or whatever, and there may be some major mistakes you can correct. But
you wipe the slate clean. On the other hand, you can make an argument that the other team might be a little bit fat and happy.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, fat and happy, I don't think gets enough credit.
I didn't say it doesn't deserve credit. I'm just saying that when you're looking at Tampa in this spot, you can picture a scenario where they say to themselves, "We won 8-0. This team's got nothing."
Well, I got to tell you, I think I've been wrong every time on this series.
I think I've been right almost every time in the series, besides game 1. Game 1, I got wrong.
All right, Nostradamus, get out your crystal ball. It's going to be Tampa Bay minus 150. You want any part of the Islanders at plus 135 or so?
No.
Okay. Good check.
I like Tampa in this spot.
Like Tampa to wrap it up at the barn.
Going into the series, I Tampa in 6. And that's kind of played itself out. But the issue I have with the Islanders, once again, isn't even just the defense. They gave up 8 goals. This team can't score. I mean, you're just looking at the series. They scored 3+ goals once in all of these games.
Yeah.
They cannot score. Vasilevsky is really, really good. We know Point has scored in 8 straight games. He's an animal. They still have Stamkos, still have Kucherov. They still got Hedman on defense. This team is just so stacked. And that's why I can't blame the Islanders fully, because they've been competitive. But at the end of the day, they just don't have the talent. And the home ice advantage is extremely valuable for New York. But if you're expecting a nail-biter anyway, you need Pollock to go diving across the crease in order to win the last home game. The Islanders are going to be hanging in there. I definitely think they might get off to a hot start. If you like the Islanders, I would take Islanders first period, because I think they have to start off quickly if they want any shot to win the game. But I just think Tampa's got too much firepower, and the power play is significantly better than New York's.
Isn't his name really Pollock?
It's Pollock, but I say Pollock.
What?
You can say Pulak, Polak. You can really say anything you want.
His name is pronounced Polak?
Ryan Pulak, Ryan Polak.
Pulak.
Heard alternative pronunciations from a lot of different sources.
Okay.
They have a Pulak and a Pelik, so people try to get confused between some of the pronunciations, and they merge the two pronunciations. And
well, one of them is very different than the rest.
One of them's very, very different. But I've always said Polak, but I'm pretty sure it's Pulak.
I'm pretty sure that's not right.
Pretty sure it's Pulak, but whatever.
Hawks and Bucks, Scott.
Oh, wait, what about you?
What?
You with me on Tampa on this one? It
should worry you for your string of being correct, because I also like Tampa here.
I hope I'm wrong, but when both goalies get shelled in the previous game, that's not a good look.
They're the better team. They were the better team from the beginning. You know, the Islanders have done a heroic amount of work, considering they are absolutely deficient on one side of the puck.
They can't score. It's just the way it is.
It's amazing that you managed to get 2 games off of one of the top 2 teams in the NHL.
I was shocked they got 2 games last year.
Yeah, I know.
But
all right, Hawks and Bucks, Scott. Hawks are the road team. Bucks opened up as 7.5-point favorites, 8 in some spots. It is down to 7.5 across the board. Total 227. A little bit of under money coming in, taking that down to 226. We talked about this series. This is the Bucks are almost minus 500 now at this point. You know, you don't I like the Hawks more than you do. I know that.
I'm giving the Hawks props. If I had to compare them to another team in sports, they're basically the Canadians of basketball this year. They get no respect wherever they go, and they keep winning.
All they do is win, baby.
And if you want to talk about series odds, I believe Vegas was minus 500. Now Milwaukee's minus 500.
We made fun of that as well. We thought that was ridiculous, and I think this Milwaukee number is ridiculous as well. Now, we talked yesterday. You didn't hate that Milwaukee number. You thought that was pretty right on.
I don't. I think 500 is a bit much. I think it should be closer to around 375. But nothing equates to a hockey team being minus 500 in a series. That's absurd. I think basketball makes more sense just for the actual narrative of the better, more talented team tends to win more often than in hockey. The issue I just have with Atlanta is the fact that I still don't exactly think they have enough answers on the inside. And they were able to overcome it because Embiid was injured and he was playing well through it anyway. But unlike Philly, Milwaukee has a point guard who can kind of shoot. Jrue Holiday hasn't really been great in this series, but defensively, I think he'll make Trae Young work. I think that's the kind of –
he's been atrocious on the offensive side.
Offensively. Defensively, he's been good. But I think the one issue I have with Atlanta that people are forgetting, Trae Young's seen every game with that shoulder sling or pad or whatever he's got on whenever he comes out of the game. I do wonder how messed up his shoulder actually is, especially after he shot, what did he go, like 4 for 20 in Game 7?
Yeah, he wasn't good. He shot 40% for the series.
Yeah, but he was awful in Game 7, which definitely drastically reduced the numbers. But I do wonder, after I see him constantly using the heating pad on the sidelines, I really do wonder how bad that shoulder is bothering him.
I agree. You know, and another guy that didn't look himself was Bogdanovich. Everything he shot came up short. They finally ended up taking him out, like in the middle of the third quarter?
He hurt his foot in Game 6. That didn't surprise me that he struggled. Right.
That's what I'm saying. And you know, you could tell, we've talked about it before, when you're not getting that lift, everything clangs off the front of the rim. Everything, and that's exactly what he was doing, especially on his three-pointer. Anything from distance just clang right off the front of the rim.
So if we're talking about Young is less than 100%, Bogdanovich is less than 100%, those are probably the 2 best scorers on the entire team?
Yeah.
That concerns me.
It depends on what Collins wants to do. You know, if he wants to play a little bit.
I do not think Collins is going to have a very good series in this one.
Well, you know,
you'll just look at the interior for Milwaukee with Giannis and Lopez there. Collins is mostly, I think, going to have to settle for jump shots.
Well, and that's the equation on the other side of the ball, Scott, because as we've talked about it numerous times on the show, when you see a player that has a superstar like Giannis Antetokounmpo, the question then becomes, who's going to stop him?
Oh, my question was if he can hit free throws, but close enough.
So you've got Capella, obviously. Who's your second choice there? Okongwu?
Yeah, but the thing about Capella is you make the same argument because he's terrible at shooting free throws too.
Well, I don't care if he can shoot free throws if he can stop Giannis.
Well, I'm saying if they switch to a Haka-Giannis situation, you might see a Haka-Capella situation. So you might cancel each other out on both sides.
Okay.
I'm surprised Philly didn't do that more. I thought Philly should have intentionally fouled Capella a lot during the series. But looking at the actual games here, the total I'm kind of fascinated by because you had 3 meetings in the regular season, and they really went in order from high scoring to low scoring. First game, 244. Second game, 229. Third game, 215. I'm kind of interested by the total in this one. What was the number you said it was again?
The number on this one is currently sitting at 220, 226 roughly.
I'm going to go with the under.
Okay.
I mentioned the injuries with Young and Bogdanovich. I think Atlanta's offense is going to struggle.
Yeah, and this is an Atlanta team that's been playing really good defense. So I think both of these teams are underrated defensively in what they did in the last round. So I think that's certainly something to take a look at. And for me,
it's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points. I've got to take the Hawks. But this is a team that came out in the first game of their last 2 series on the road, and they ended up punching each of those teams in the mouth. They led the Knicks by 8 after the first quarter, and they led in their next series against the Philadelphia 76ers by 15 in game 1 on the road. Both of them they ultimately went on to win. Until they show me that they're not going to do that this time, I've got to take the Hawks in the points. I think it's a game. I'm thinking, threading the needle here. I think it's a game the Bucks are probably going to win, but I think the Hawks cover.
I'm going to go under.
Okay. All right. Very solid. I do have a premium on the total, so I'm going to defer there, but I do like that side. I do like the Hawks quite a bit as well. So, all right, Scott, before we get to our bet the farm play, let's take a look at the baseball card, see what we've got going on. We do have a couple of getaway games. It is Wednesday. We have part 1 of getaway day, so there are some afternoon games. But what do you see on the card there that you are excited about as far as baseball goes?
Well, first of all, we got to be clear there's a lot of daytime games. So there are a lot of games that we might be interested in that we can't really talk about. So
Right.
Just keep that in mind. But looking at the overall nightcap for baseball, I am interested in looking at Boston plus money. I know Rich Hill's been very good, but Tampa's lost 7 in a row. Should they really be laying 150? I don't necessarily agree with it. I know Richard's not a guy we actually like, but we know baseball is a game of streaks, and Tampa's not playing really well lately. Do you think they should be laying 150 here? Because I don't.
Yeah, I do. I think you still look at the overall talent of this team. You look at the pitching matchup.
Well, Hill, of course, is very good, but
Right.
Tampa's falling apart.
Okay.
That's how I'm looking at it. I think Tampa should be favored. I just think it should be closer to minus 125.
So is there value there on taking the Angels at plus 135, 140?
You mean the Red Sox?
I mean the Red Sox, rather. Sorry, with Richard. Sorry.
I think there is. You might want to look at an in-play if you think Hill pitches well for 5 innings, but that's all he's going to give you. He's going to give you 5.
No, that's true. He's not a guy that gives you a lot of length. So, Scott, the hottest team in baseball, even though they cooled off a little bit as far as their run scoring barrage goes, but they still were able to win on the run line. And that is the Houston Astros. They send Jose Urquidy to the mound against Baltimore and Eshelman. Do these teams just play every day, Scott? It seems like they've been playing Baltimore for about a week now.
I feel like Baltimore is in the middle of a nightmare where they just keep seeing Houston over and over again, and it's the same outcome every time.
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day, Scott. It absolutely is. So does the Groundhog see a shadow here? Is it more of the same? You're paying a huge price. You got some run line value there. You're climbing up close to minus 190, 190.
What's the run one? Like minus 115?
It's going to be a little worse than that. I'm thinking run line's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about plus 130. I don't have it.
You mean minus 130?
I mean minus 130. Yeah, minus 130. So
I'm expecting 6 more weeks of winter for Baltimore.
I think they'd be happy with just 6 more. That used to be the Royal situation. It kind of almost is now, but you get to the end of June and the season's over.
Houston's just better than them in every single capacity.
They're better than a lot of teams in every single.
Especially
think
Baltimore.
They've kind of flown under the radar because people are still mad at Houston. They're still upset about the trash can banging and all.
They've won what, 9 in a row now?
believe they won 9 straight, yes.
It's either 8 in a row or 9 in a row, but Baltimore, 2 runs the first game of the series, 1 run in the second game. I think Urquidy's pretty good, so I like Houston in this spot.
Run line?
Yeah.
Well, I'm loading up really slow here. I was gonna check the run line to see what the number is, but yeah, it's going to be somewhere around -130. I would guess. So
I can pull up a confirmation right now. Looking at Houston on the run line, it is around -125.
Okay, all right, good enough. Anything else you see?
For the most part, no. I know we do have one play that we have not talked about yet.
We do.
Other than that, I'm tempted by the Padres, I guess. I mean, I'm not thrilled with it. Actually, there's no total on this yet. I'm interested in the under in the Marlins Blue Jays game.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. You have to always take a look at the Marlins and the under as far as that goes. All right, Scott. Well, it is time once again for America's favorite segment where you and I put our heads together. We come up with our very best play. People will inevitably ask us when they see us, what's your best play today? What do you want to play? That's why you guys tune in. It is time once again for Bet the Farm. Scott, how'd we do yesterday? Did we pick up another farm?
Well, we ended up taking Houston, and they played Baltimore. So, yes, they won by a couple of runs.
Very nicely done. That is a Bet the Farm winner right now. So, Scott, take it away. What do we got in the hopper for today?
So, since the run line went well yesterday, we're going to stick with it with another team in the AL West. We're going to be talking about the Oakland A's. And we like them -1.5 at around +112 on FanDuel against Texas on Wednesday night. Rangers have lost 7 of their last 8. 6 of those losses have come by at least 2 runs. Caprillian's on the mound for Oakland. Very good. 4-1 record, 2.84 ERA, 1.11 whip. Fulton-Evans on the mound for the Rangers. 1-7 record with a 5.59 ERA. And Texas has lost 7 of his last 8 starts. Not good. Oakland's been hitting the ball really well lately. We think Oakland comes out and wins this game pretty easily.
I agree. This is a team that is not playing well, and this is a pitcher that is not pitching well at all. Fulton-Evans has given up 16 earned runs over his last 11 1/3 innings. That ain't good, Scott, and he is
Oakland scored 13 yesterday.
Yeah. So not only do you have Fulton-Evans, but you've got a bullpen that has a dent in it from yesterday.
Bottom 9 ERA.
Yeah, they are not good at all, and I believe they are worse. And yes, they are worse away, or they are worse at home than they are on the road as far as the bullpen goes. So we like Caprillian. He's a youngster. He's done a very nice job. Won his last 2. He's won 5 of his 7 starts on the season. I think there's good value there. So give us the A's on the run line.
It's also plus money. So
all right, that is going to do it for Winners and Whiners Radio today. As always, I am Scott Steen. He is Scott Reichel. We appreciate you guys listening. Thanks for tuning in. Tell your friends we do it each and every day. Good luck on all of your plays today, and we'll see you tomorrow on Winners and Whiners Radio.